as the designee of the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to uplift my LGBTQ neighbors at home in the 13th Congressional District. I want them to know that I uplift them today and always as their unwavering advocate in the United States Congress. There are ideals and values we all should attempt to live up to in this country, and I know many of us ran to be in this chamber to ensure that our laws match those values and ideals as well. When I think of these issues we confront as people and as representative body, I always feel that we must use an approach that is rooted in values that uplift our whole communities. The values of equality, justice, and acceptance come to mind when I think of the need to pass the Equality Act. Far too long, our LGBTQ neighbors have been forced to live a life of fear, a life in hiding, a life of depression, oppression, and life of instability. We have come a long way in the LGBTQ rights community, but we have a long way to go. The Equality Act is a step in the right direction on this important path toward justice. I think of the right side of history when the right to marriage was afforded to same-sex couples, the moment when our LGBTQ neighbors in Michigan were able to create the special bond with their loved ones. But I'm also reminded of the stark reality that they faced being in states where they could still be fired for their jobs, the day after their wedding for being gay. I think of the trans community across the country that still faces discrimination and violence, especially trans women of color who are disproportionately targeted and killed. Our laws still do not protect them. LGBTQ Americans remain vulnerable to discrimination on a daily basis and too often have little recourse. 50% of the national LGBTQ community live in states where, though they have the right to marry, they still have no explicit non-discrimination practices in other areas of their daily life. One's identity could still mean deep harm and even death for some communities in this country, and we must change this. I think of our LGBTQ neighbors who are denied public accommodation just because of who they are and who they love. I think about how we are failing them by not living out our values rooted in justice. This week, we have a chance to begin to change with the Equality Act. We now have a pro-equality majority, Madam Speaker, in this chamber, and I'm so glad we can change that fact that LGBTQ folks are being denied housing services and employment in majority of our states. I'm so glad to be part of ensuring that everyone has full protection in our civil rights laws, regardless of who they are and who they love. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I yield to my colleague from the great state of Massachusetts, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I rise today in support of H.R.